Hi everyone, welcome to #Hydeas, and my name is Gaurav Pandey, and this is the Marketing Essay Show. We are back with another episode with another marketing expert, and today we have Bhuvana Subramanyan, who is Chief Marketing Officer of Randstad India. Randstad is a global giant in human services, and we are expecting to have some wonderful business around B2B businesses, B2B business marketing with Bhuvana today. Bhuvna, prior to this, was digital lead for IBM Asia Pacific region for cloud business. She was handling the cloud business precisely. And she was also featured as Best 50 Marketing and Communication Leaders by White Page International. Bhuvna was also Superwoman 2020 by Social Samosa, which is quite a marketing and social media platform, knowledge platform for us. And she has been speaking very frequently with IM batches, and she runs her own podcast, which is again on marketing, given that her field, and the podcast is named as Marketing the Untold Story. So just tell us some, brief about your podcast, Marketing the Untold Story. Something quickly, then I'll jump on the questions, Bhuvna.
Sure, Gaurav. Thank you for having me here today. My podcast is about marketing the untold story because I believe that not everybody knows what happens behind the marketing role, right? Everybody has their own point of view on whether it is branding or events or creating posters or creating events. So there is limited knowledge when it comes to marketing, or there is this very Gyanish point of view saying digital marketing, right? So I just wanted to kind of break those fallacies, and I've been having these conversations with great brand builders in India and CMOs of various brands to talk to the listeners about what they think marketing is and what their experience is. So this is more a very practical learning podcast for would-be marketeers, students, and existing marketeers as well. So
Great,
that's what the marketing and the untold story is about.
great, wonderful, wonderful. So, Bhuvna, actually, my expectation with this chat today is all around B2B and marketing and B2B transformation, especially for the non-app businesses, non-software businesses like the traditional MSMEs. So, can you help us
Right.
understand and help my audience understand what exactly is digital transformation from them, and how they should approach it? What should be the right way?
Sure. Sure. And yeah, I think digital transformation is a huge subject, first of all, right? And when it comes to digital transformation for MSMEs, I mean, it's clearly very different compared to large enterprises. And what I've observed is that they have a very phased approach to digital transformation, as they cannot take up like everything in one go. And one industry, it's not a cookie cutter approach when it comes to MSME. You can't just go and apply everything that you've learned in digital transformation. And it's very evident that with the pandemic, everyone's digital needs is accelerated, and therefore the process of digitization itself has gone up. The speed has gone up multifold. The MSMEs, in fact, took some time to adapt to the business culture, which differs from industry to industry. But there have been breakthroughs in areas like, I would say, training and education, beauty and home services. But to your point, these are all shifted towards the app-based digital
Right.
transformation, right?
Right.
So that has created a better outreach, and of course, there's lots to learn from them. But it's difficult for the MSMEs to store, manage, analyze or transform data, which is key to marketing also, into insights for business decision making, because they don't have that technology or technical investment is not possible in large scale. Therefore, it is it's been a little apprehensive journey, but they're getting there, right? So what I also would look at is better partnership within the MSMEs itself, right? To enter into uh, this larger digital transformation. I mean, even larger organizations have done this through the pandemic. We had held hands with industry bodies. I'm talking about Randstad had held hand with industry bodies like NASSCOM and our competition as well to come out with a blue book for getting back to work, because everybody was figuring out stuff. So it's good to have those very key partnerships when it comes to MSMEs. And there's clearly a need for custom-made programs for digitization when it comes to and enhancing digital resilience and competitiveness also. And all this, Gaurav, it stems from the digital upskilling and training that is required. So it's very important for them to be able to, either dig into the pool that's already there or create that specific training and skilling for themselves. They need to also focus internally and start with smaller changes in their workforce by introducing the key technologies. And there's so many startups in India which are creating very niche products which MSMEs and B2B can kind of make use of, right? And it's clearly, I mean, it's incomplete. All of us know that digital transformation is incomplete without technology supported changes. And they need to actualize technology support changes which are unique to their purposes. And I think that's where the benefit of digital transformation will happen beyond the needs of a specific organization, but will benefit the entire industry.
Right, right, right. So what, I mean, when when we're talking about this, all things, uh, what is the kind of MSMEs, tactics they can use? As you said, there are a lot of tools, startup tools, startups are developing specific tools that
Right.
SMEs actually can use. Help me understand with some sort of marketing approaches, digital, especially digital marketing approaches that MSMEs, again, non-app, non-software companies, can actually take to start their journey. So not all SMEs might have been equipped enough to use their data that they are producing all the time with the consumers, with the suppliers. What they can do to take the first step,
Sure. So,
and
Gaurav,
also not on the very huge budget, because they all budget is a very big concern in this segment.
budget is a concern across, Gaurav, so it's nothing to do with
Yeah, especially
it.
after the pandemic situation.
Everywhere,
I get
everywhere
it.
it is a concern. And I think that's also good in a way because it gives room for a lot of innovation to happen.
Correct.
But going back to your question, I would start off with very, uh, so-called archaic method, but is very effective, which is email marketing. It continues to stand apart and continues to be one of the key marketing tools employed by B2B, because that's a very sure way of reaching out to your audience. And as an MSME or a B2B organization, you start off with audience generation. You start off with identifying your audience. So if you have to reach out to your audience, I would say start with email marketing so that you're able to take your specific customized content and your product information or your service information to your audience directly as well, right? There are other things like pay-per-click, which is PPC, which is also proved very essential for business, which are looking to expand their online presence on digital, and they're looking to connect with consumers in new and innovative ways. SaaS PPC, which has actually been a very powerful marketing tool for business to reach potential customers who are actively searching for specific purposes. Especially when it comes to B2B, your consumers already, most of them really know what they're looking for, at least from a product or service perspective. So it's easier to reach out to them. It's not a B2C scenario where they're just largely looking for, let's say, a dress or a makeup. It's not that big an umbrella, right? They know what exactly they're looking for. To me, a very key trend that has also been around for some time, which is the growth loops, right? And that is kind of looking at where the output is reinvested in the input, and that there is a closed loop system as well, and where the process repeats, right? So with enhanced content and better targeting, growth loops have been shown a renewed interest, I would say, during the pandemic and after the pandemic, and that has also been applied to omni-channel wherever it's possible. Of course, omni-channel again calls for larger budgets and better engagement and constant engagement as well. But wherever possible, Growth loops and an omni-channel combination has helped boost engagement across platforms. One of the key things, Gaurav, is social media, right? That has played a significant role in the last 2.5 years and in retargeting and customer acquisition through customer voice. And of course, with a combination of storytelling, that has gained popularity. And in the B2B environment, I think statistics or data tells us that 80% of the leads are generated through social. This is where, all of us, in fact, spend a lot of time and, professionals are putting a lot of content out there or consuming content out there. And there are a lot of professional communities as well, where you are able to go and target like-minded business people. And it's clearly, going to your question of how can they start, or this is actually a jump start for retargeting for marketers, especially in the B2B area. Another thing which I advocate also is the ABM. ABM, which is now moved into the ABX space, which is the account-based experience, which is another area that is clearly been endorsed by B2B marketers because it's tailored, it's customized, and therefore it also brings sales and marketing in a scenario like today where you need to work very, very closely with sales and create that pipeline and continuous generation of leads, right? ABM and ABX have shown better ROI. So it also betters the customer experience, which is what a marketer's dream is. And therefore, it's known to drive anywhere. I think I would bet about 60 to 70% of sales opportunities are coming from ABM and ABX in today's world.
Can I
Yeah,
just interrupt you? Can I just interrupt you
of
to
course, of
a
course.
bit more about this ABM and ABX? It's interesting.
Sure, sure. So account-based marketing is you select your accounts, right? And where you know the potential of conversion or business is much higher. And therefore, you go and target only those customers. Let's say you create a top 100 list and you break them down further into, let's say, industries or role. You can do the cut in any which way, and you're able to go and provide specific content to that particular role or to the industry, and therefore you are able to get back that it can be a two-way interactive mailer that you create, or you're creating, let's say, a round table or an event specific to these people. It's a journey that you take these specific accounts through, and therefore creating a very, very tailored approach to marketing to these accounts, and therefore the ROI is very, very high. That's where the whole customer experience journey has changed through account-based marketing.
And probably this will also depend on the, in the same fashion, in a tailored content generation also for the big B2B segment. And when it comes to
Absolutely.
content and social media, which you have already covered, I mean, my next question was about social media, but you have already covered it. So when it comes about the tailored content and the tailored, social media experiences and the ABM experiences which you have explained me, you know, help us simplify the content production for the B2B businesses. Like, they be approaching the thought leadership building, or should they be, the content should be produced in a consumer facing businesses, or maybe the kind of, you say, the roundtable discussions. So it is kind of visual content. Just some information on this also, some elaboration.
There's no there's no single formula we always try and find that single formula, single success formula, right? It never happens that way because imagine yourself as a consumer, right? So let's say you're looking for a product, let's say you're looking for a phone. You are looking at multiple things when it comes to, you're looking at price, you're looking at color, you're looking at brand, you're looking at what features, the longevity of the phone itself. So it's never like, if they just talk only about the features, that's not going to be enough. You need it at the right price. So similar formula applies to B2B marketing as well. Of course, social media, it can be a versatile channel for B2B companies because it offers that kind of liberty, right? And I think about 80 plus percentage of B2B B2B brands are active on social media and they are, kind of creating that reach and engaging with buyers. It's simple things, Gaurav. Sometimes it's not, the complicated, large advertising, large campaigns that, break through to your consumer. It is probably a small video, like a 30-second, voice of your customer that is talking to the other customers. That kind of content makes or breaks your image on social media. It is content marketing, let's say, in terms of design and the colors that you put through. You may want to kind of create very differentiating experience compared to your competition. Otherwise, you're creating a blind spot for the customer on social media because there's so much content out there as well, right? It's also about how often are you talking to your consumer through social media. You need to optimize that as well, because it depends on the product. Like, nobody wants to listen to the phone company. I'm just giving phone as an example because it's a lot more relatable. uh, Talking about it every day to them, right? It's, you have to be able to face out and create a pace for the consumer to be able to consume that content as well. Whereas if you're especially in B2B, I'm saying it's a lot more challenging. B2C, we are ready to consume a lot more content. You're okay to be shown a lot more advertising when it comes to B2C because you're consuming it on a daily basis as well. B2B, your consumption is much, much lesser. So therefore, you need to be able to pace it out to your consumer also. Visual is definitely a huge thing. And I've also seen really bite-sized video content that is a lot more consumed on social media as well. Small time, I would say maybe a quick survey, right, on platforms like LinkedIn, which engages with your, because they're also trying to understand the product. So a quick survey on LinkedIn helps them see whether they're thinking alike the other participants. Like, you also go and see, like, okay, 72% have said the same thing about the product, and therefore, okay, you feel good about it as well. Customer retention, right? That's the main thing in all of these. And I mean, you and I know that this whole thing around third-party cookies and, all that is going to continue to become a problem. Therefore, first-party cookie related content, permission from the consumer, marketing attribution through all this, return on investment. These are conversations that B2B marketers continue to have on a daily basis. And therefore, identifying the right touch points, that is the starting point for B2B marketing, especially on social media, and putting the right content. When I talk to other CMOs, like through the podcast as well, one thing that is standing out clearly is the geo-targeting bit, story tagging, and vernacular. Vernacular is gaining a lot of popularity, whether it is B2B or B2C, right? People want to be spoken to in their language, and your consumers have moved from tier 1 towns to tier 2, tier 3 towns also. So therefore, it's important to be able to connect to them. I think these things put together will create a success formula for your brand, Gaurav.
No, actually, I actually didn't ask, largely and only about the success formula. Why also, I actually wanted to touch the point where, B2B businesses actually get confused about the content, should they be focusing in terms of producing content from the thought leadership angle and the content produced for the consumer facing content. So the question largely was around, which works better in terms of B2B businesses.
See, thought leadership again. See, you need to know your audience. That's the first step. Because your thought leadership content is going to probably hit a nerve with the decision makers and the C-suite, right? So that's where your thought leader, because it's a lot more lengthier. It's got a lot more strategy related information. It's got probably trend related information. It's giving data in all of that. Your influencer within your client organization may or may not be really interested in all that. They're only interested in, let's say, product related information, that is consumer led information. That So you need to, again, if you go back to the point that I was making, that if you have to design your content and strategy to your audience, right? So you can have, there is no fixed formula saying that you have to send only one set of information to your consumers. You have to design specific content and specific channel for your decision maker, and a different kind of content which is product related, benefit related, problem solving related content for your influencer within the organization,
Wow.
Gaurav. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, yes, it does. So just give some ideas, some rising trends in B2B digital marketing that you are anticipating, seeing, and already happening. Some insights about happening.
Yeah, I think we just went through some of them, which is I was talking
ABM and
about.
ABX, right?
Yeah, the email and ABM and ABX is definitely one trend. The others that include are clearly the chatbot, and in India, WhatsApp marketing is doing very well. They've also definitely crept their way into B2B marketing, of course, with a lot of permissions from your consumer. But there's a lot of innovation that the consumer expects in these areas, whether it's automation or chatbot or WhatsApp. They don't want some pop-up coming onto their face. They want little more, let's say, interactiveness through these automated ways of marketing as well. The other thing that has been very prevalent but is catching up, is also, and things that I get approached as a CMO, is product review, user testing, and conversion through these. Like, because when you start using the product itself, right, especially technology products in B2B, when you start using the product and you provide them product review, then they also allow you to use that for free, and therefore you're a you tend to become a bigger converter of it compared to if you've not tested the product. That's also catching up. And there are G2B review sites where you can go and look at what other users are talking about that specific product, and therefore take a easier call on what you want to consume. But it is definitely, as I was mentioning earlier, the growth models have enabled that customer engagement, and customer engagement has become a huge part of marketing's agenda. That is another trend that is caught up in the last 2 years, where you are defining and deciding what you will do to keep the customer engaged. You're working closely with the business to drive better customer centricity for the organization. So those would be largely the trends that have come up in the last 2.5 years.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So, since you are already working with Randstad, which might be, which surely is working with a lot of businesses of all these scales, like giants, like middle scale businesses, small and medium sized businesses, who is hiring, aggressively, which industries are, fighting the inflation well, which industries are hiring well, some input, some ideas.
Sure. Yeah, we do a lot of these surveys with our clients, and we also keep a pulse on the trends, right, on hiring. That's our main one of the main jobs that we do. IT is definitely on the high, Gaurav, as always, because of the volumes as well. And I think we're looking at about 35 to 30% of hiring comes from there in the country. Telecom is also hiring, and of course, tech startups, there is always an up and down, right, in terms of hiring, because of it depends on which side of the bed you've gotten up for that particular day when it comes to tech startups. The other industries that have clearly done well is the healthcare, health tech, pharma, definitely with the pandemic and the India leading the conversation around vaccines, that healthcare and pharmaceuticals have done well. Logistics and manufacturing also, even though it's not 100% shift from China that has happened, but logistics and manufacturing are doing pretty well in terms of hiring. And recessions have come and gone, right? But I think India is definitely doing comparatively well in the world, I would say, and it's expected to grow 20% annually over the next decade as the digital transformation, which we are talking about, those initiatives and the renewed existing contracts with IT vendors. Of course, there is so much of unrest in the rest of the world. So everybody is looking at India to kind of take on the burden, take on the challenges, and deliver to the world as well. And we also know that most Indian IT companies offer services to legacy businesses across sectors like banking, automobile, and housing, real estate as well, right? So therefore, there's all the more likeliness for it to continue using Indian IT services despite the recession.
So since it touched the startups, I just want to have a cross question. Just a point came to my mind.
Sure.
After the layoff by Shopify, I received many calls actually to understand the situation with the startups, and this continuous stream of news from the startups, that startups are firing a lot of people. Is this true? Is this real? What's happening? What is actually happening? You may be in a much better position than me to understand this. Explain this.
It is real. I mean, we are witnessing it, right? It's not. It's a real time thing that happens, and of course, when you this is a very cyclic thing that we see over the years, Gaurav. Like whenever there is a boom or a burst, then there is a burst as well. Boom burst has been happening for the last decade, I would say. There was a lot of funding in the startup arena, and then there was overhiring, and then it obviously has to kind of get optimized at some point in time. It has to level up at some point in time, and I think as industry experts we do expect it as well. And this is where we keep talking to people across industries that skill yourself, upskill yourself, cross skill yourself, because that's when, unless you're relevant, right, you will be asked to kind of leave, or you will be asked to kind of stay on the bench, or whatever it is, whether it's the company itself, the company, its product and its service has to continue to be relevant. And therefore, the people in it also need to continue to be relevant for sustaining or sustainable growth.